PS, before into the break, we were talking about the distress, Kenyans who might be in distress.
True.
And in as much as there are embassies abroad, how can they also report these issues and these cases?
So I did mention that we have a toll-free number, and I want to read it out, so that Kenyans out there who are watching us in the countries of destination where they are working, in case they get into one problem or another, they can reach out to the government, but also for the sake of, Kenyans who have relatives out there and who possibly communicate with them in case they have problems. This is the number. It's a toll-free number. That's 020 800 22 22 23. Let me just read it out again. That's 020 800 22 22 23. This is a number that is manned 24/7 by National Employment Authority employees.
Absolutely. Yes, let's get to some questions coming in through our WhatsApp number. It's on the screens. The Kenyans have been sending questions. Hi, hello. I'm Shavin from Nairobi. My question is that what about Juakali people like me but having a diploma? Juakali artisans, what are the options? I think he means what are the options for them abroad?
There are opportunities for them too. It's not only graduates who gain employment in the international labor market. Even diploma holders. In fact, they're more marketable because some of them are engaged in, skills. They have earned skills like plumbers, masons, and they like electricians. And these jobs are available, particularly for countries that intend to expand their economies. Here I have in mind Qatar, that has been putting up a number of buildings of late, and also Saudi Arabia that is putting up a new city. They will easily be able to access these jobs. But I want to encourage those also in the informal sector, in the Juakali sector, those who have gained experience over time. They may not have a certificate, but they too, out of the experience they have gained, the skills that they have, would wish to access these international jobs. What we are doing, George, is we have a program that we call RPL, Recognition of Prior Learning. So National Industrial Training Authority goes round the country every year, different geographical locations in this country, to meet young people with certain skills in the Juakali sector, in the informal sector, assess their skills, and then certify their skills by issuing out certificates, so that then you can be able to gain employment abroad. So we try and make it easy for everyone.
For everyone. Hello, I'm Mwalimu J. Wakoli from Chwele. I applaud the government for a good move of Kazi Maju, lakini applying for it is easy, but being considered is looking for a proton of potassium in Lake Victoria. How, how is the assessment? What are the required skill set, perhaps, for anyone seeking, work abroad? Okay,
as I said earlier on, and I think this is important for Kenyans to know, it's not the private recruitment agency that will secure a job for you. The private recruitment agency will only facilitate the employer to come and conduct the interviews in Kenya. So it's the employer who will see whether you have the capacity to undertake the job that they have in mind. It's not necessarily PRAs, it's not necessarily government. The interviews are conducted by the private recruitment agency, by the employers. And let me explain. For example, if it is a job for a driver, the employer will have to come and even test the driving skills of this young Kenyan, possibly drive around the city, and thereafter, after the interview, see whether one is qualified or not. So it's critical for Kenyans to know that. It's not necessarily Ministry of Labor that will conduct the interviews and submit a list to the employer and say, employ this one as a driver, employ this one as a carpenter, employ this one, in housekeeping and what have you. No, it's not within our mandate. For us, it's just to create the environment to ensure that you're able to access these jobs by signing bilateral labor agreements with these countries.
Okay. This is Danny. He says, I've had this one question. Before taking Kenyans abroad for jobs, why can't you first make opportunities in our country? For instance, why can the government allow trucks to have turnmen? These are very big opportunities, since you'll find a company with more than 100 trucks but no turnmen. Is this not a job? I think he means local options available. What is the government doing to enhance, employability and to create jobs for young people?
So I totally agree with the number of Kenyans who ask why labor mobility. Why don't you ensure that Kenyans access jobs within? And of course, it makes a lot of sense. But we must be cognizant of two things. Yeah. Number one, what we are trying to do has also been done by other countries. Because look at the unemployment rate as it is currently. We have 5 million young people who are unemployed, or some of them are underemployed. Yeah? Every year we produce 1 million graduates, from primary level to secondary level to tertiary to universities. The formal and informal sector cannot be able to absorb all of them. In fact, when you look at government and the private sector, formal jobs, they're only able to absorb 200,000 of the 1 million. So you want to ask yourself, where do 800,000 end up? Where do they eventually go? You see, even if you're talking of the Juakali sector, there are people who do not have entrepreneurial skills. So even the Juakali sector will only be able to absorb a certain percentage. Now, as I said earlier on, there are other models that we can emulate. Countries that were at the same level where we are currently and are now a first world. And I want to give an example of South Korea. About 30 years ago, they sent the young people abroad when the unemployment rate was so high. They went to Japan, they went to Saudi Arabia, some of them went to Germany. When they came back to the country, first of all, they came back with savings. But number two, they came back with know-how, technology. As it is now, South Korea is able to compete with even Japan in terms of the products that they produce, the quality of the products that they produce. We have Samsung phones, we have TVs, we have Hyundais that compete with Toyotas. So it makes a lot of sense when you look at your economy, the way it's performing, and you realize that you have skills that can be utilized in other economies, and in the process, those people who are going out there make savings and bring back these savings. But as they come back, they're also coming back with know-how as it obtains in those countries, the know-how that obtains in the world.
Okay.
So that is the reason why we are sending young people abroad. They will come back. You see, this is a long-term project. They will eventually come back. They will make investments. They will establish industries. They will employ their younger brothers and sisters. So as they inject foreign currency, they're also reducing the unemployment rate.
Okay.
And in the process, the economy will expand, and we will not need sending our young people abroad anymore. Yeah.
How is the wage bill, the public wage bill, going? It has been a concern for previous administrations as we wind up. How is this Kenya Kwanza administration managing the public wage bill?
It's obviously high, but economists will tell you that it has to be looked at from two perspectives, because as government employees, these same Kenyans are the ones who will spend within the economy, so the money will circulate within. So I don't think we should be overly concerned about the wage bill as it is currently, and even possibly halt employment of young people within, because as money is pumped into the economy, as these young people spend this money, it will circulate within and make the economy expand. However, I know there's a limit.
Yes.
Because you can only spend a certain percentage on recurrent, and the rest of the percentage has to be utilized in development. So I know it's lopsided as it is now, because it's 30% development and 70% recurrent. If there's a way of bringing in a balance, even increasing it to possibly 40% development and 60% on recurrent, that will do a lot of good in our economy.
P.S. 30 seconds for your closing remarks. Speak to Kenyans, that's your camera, on what exactly is the vision of Kenya Kwanza within the next 2.5 years. What would the State Department for Labor and Skills Development want to be known for by the end of this first tenure?
We want to be known for two things. Number one, we are undertaking a skills inventory so that we get to know the skills that Kenyans have as it is currently, and to get to know why they are not employable, why we have graduates that cannot be absorbed even within our local economy, because employers are complaining the kind of skills they have do not match their expectations. So what we have in mind is to carry out an inventory, an analysis. We get to know where there are gaps so that we can inform curriculum and ensure that every young person who goes through the school system, at the end of college, you must be as employable as possible. So in essence, what I'm trying to say is we will try and ensure that Kenyans become more employable, unlike the way the situation is currently. But remember, George, this administration was brought into power on the premise of trying to uplift the standard of living of those who are at the bottom of the economic pyramid. We will be held accountable by Kenyans after 2.5 years. Ministry of Labor must be remembered for doing the very best that it can to ensure Kenyans access jobs in the international market and also within. And that is the reason why we are coming up with a number of strategies and policies that we've put in place, like the National Strategy on Skills Development, that will inform curriculum and make Kenyans as employable as possible.
Indeed. Absolutely. Thank you so much. We've been speaking to PS Shadrack Mwadime, the Principal Secretary for Labor and Skills Development in the Republic. Thank you so much, PS, for speaking to us, and we look forward to having a conversation next time.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Good night, George.
Brilliant. And we want